She slept, holding her sniper rifle. By morning, the enemy was defeated.
The valley had quieted, but Elena Vargas didn't relax. The enemy's attempt to flank wasn't random, it was part of a larger plan. She could feel it in the rhythm of the movements she had observed overnight. Her rifle rested across her lap as she scanned the horizon. Every shadow, every rock outcropping, every tree line held a potential threat. The team followed her lead silently, trusting instincts they didn't fully understand. Lieutenant Harper approached, careful not to disturb her concentration. "Elena, what's the next move?" She didn't answer immediately. Her eyes were fixed on the valley below. "They're regrouping," she said softly, "and they'll think we're tired. They'll assume last night broke us." Her teammates exchanged uneasy glances. "Tired?" whispered Daniels. "She hasn't slept properly either." Elena's focus didn't waver. "Good," she said. "Let them believe that. They'll make mistakes if they think we're vulnerable." Hours passed. Using subtle signals, Elena guided the team into strategic positions, anticipating the enemy's movements as if reading their minds. Then it happened. A small group began moving through the ravine. Too exposed, too confident. Exactly what Elena expected. She lifted her rifle. Each breath measured, every heartbeat accounted for. "Hold fire," she whispered to the team. "Let them commit." Her patience was infuriating to watch. Daniels shifted nervously, barely restraining himself. But Harper said nothing. He knew better than to interrupt her process. The enemy advanced further, unaware they were walking into a carefully prepared trap. Elena's calculations were precise. Distances, angles, wind, light, everything accounted for. When the first hostile figure was perfectly in her scope, she exhaled and fired. One shot, silent, lethal. Then another, then another. Each enemy eliminated before they could respond. The chaos of the trap unfolded exactly as she had predicted. By the time the sun reached the valley floor, the enemy was in disarray. Their advance had been neutralized. Confusion spread, and their command structure broke under the pressure of Elena's precision and patience. Finally, Harper moved beside her, voice quiet. "How did you know exactly how they'd move?" She didn't smile. She just adjusted her rifle. Observation, anticipation, and refusing to rest until the mission is complete. Daniels shook his head. "Sleeping with a rifle in your hands? I thought you were crazy." Elena's calm gaze swept over the team. "I wasn't holding it for me. I was holding it for all of you. 1 second of distraction, one missed shot, and it could have cost lives. Yours, mine, or the team's." Harper nodded, understanding fully now. Elena's crazy methods were more than instinct. They were strategy, discipline, genius. The team realized something important that day. Victory wasn't just about firepower or courage. It was about focus, patience, and precision, traits Elena embodied like no one else they had ever known. And the enemy had learned that lesson the hard way. The night had been long, but Elena Vargas didn't stop. By the early hours of dawn, the enemy had regrouped, desperate, cautious, and overconfident. They thought the team had been weakened, that the sniper who slept holding her rifle had finally succumbed to exhaustion. They were wrong. Elena's eyes scanned the valley as mist clung to the rocks below. Every movement, every subtle shift in the enemy's position was visible through her scope. She calculated angles, wind, and distance, predicting their every attempt to regroup. "Positions ready," Lieutenant Harper whispered. His voice was tense but calm. "They're coming." She didn't respond verbally. She simply exhaled, raising her rifle slightly. Her body relaxed just enough to breathe, but her mind was sharper than any weapon. Then it began. Figures appeared along the ridge below, a dozen, then 20, advancing cautiously, thinking the night had made them invisible. Elena's finger hovered on the trigger. The team was silent, waiting for her command. "Wait, let them get closer," she whispered. "Patience, let them reveal themselves fully." The enemy advanced, unaware they were walking straight into her trap. one by one, their positions exposed, their coordination faltering. Then she struck. Shot after shot rang out, quiet, precise, controlled. Each enemy neutralized before they could react. The chaos of the trap unfolded exactly as she had predicted. By the time the first rays of sunlight touched the ridge, the enemy force was completely defeated. Not one soldier from Elena's team had been harmed. The operation had been flawless. Lieutenant Harper approached her, awe clear in his eyes. "Elena, you did all this while we thought you were crazy?" She lowered her rifle and finally smiled faintly. "Crazy," she said softly, "is doing what needs to be done while everyone else sleeps." Daniels shook his head, staring at her with disbelief. "I thought you were insane holding that rifle all night." Elena's calm gaze swept over the team. "I wasn't holding it for me. I was holding it for all of you. 1 second of distraction, one missed shot, and it could have cost lives. Yours, mine, or the team's." Harper placed a hand on her shoulder, silently acknowledging the lesson. Patience, precision, discipline, unyielding vigilance. By morning, the team understood something deeper than victory. Elena's methods, her so-called crazy ways, weren't risky. They were strategy. The sun rose over the valley. The enemy was gone. The team stood together, exhausted but alive. Elena adjusted her rifle, scanning the horizon one last time, calm, composed, vigilant. And as her teammates looked at her, finally understanding, they realized one undeniable truth. Sometimes the quietest, most unusual actions, the ones that seem insane at first, are the ones that win wars.
Night in the forward observation post was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that made even seasoned soldiers uncomfortable. Sergeant Elena Vargas, the unit's elite sniper, lay in her sleeping bag at the edge of the ridge. Her rifle was clutched tightly against her chest, not on the rack, not beside her, against her, like a lifeline. Her teammates muttered as they set up the night watch. "She's insane," whispered Corporal Daniels, adjusting his night vision goggles. "She's awake, right?" another asked, glancing toward Elena. But she wasn't awake. Not exactly. She was resting, her eyes closed, but every muscle was tense, every sense alert. The rifle was an extension of her body, a tool she had mastered better than most soldiers in the platoon. The mission briefing had been simple. Intercept enemy movements near the valley below, prevent their advance before dawn. But the terrain was unforgiving, cold, rocky, and every shadow could hide a threat. Elena didn't sleep like the others, not when lives depended on it. She had trained for nights like this, where the world around her seemed to hold its breath. By the fire, the team whispered doubts. "Why not just set up the rifle in position and rest normally?" Daniels asked. "She's nuts," muttered Private Lee, clutching that thing like it's her baby. The squad leader, Lieutenant Harper, said nothing. He had learned to trust her instincts. Elena Vargas had earned every reputation she carried: precision, patience, and a cold focus that had saved their lives more than once. Hours crawled by. The wind whispered through the canyon. The faint sound of the river below was the only constant. Then, at 02:17, Elena's rifle shifted slightly in her grip. She wasn't moving randomly. Her eyes snapped open in a fraction of a second, the scope reflecting the moonlight. A figure emerged on the enemy trail, moving with cautious steps. Elena didn't hesitate. She exhaled slowly, her finger brushing the trigger lightly, as if the rifle itself were guiding her. Her teammates, noticing the subtle shift, froze. Some whispered, others cursed under their breath, unsure if they should wake her. But they didn't. They had learned, disturbing Elena at the wrong moment could be fatal. The figure paused, unaware. The ridge's shadows stretched long. The wind carried scent, sound, movement, and Elena absorbed it all. Minutes felt like hours, and then a faint click of her rifle settling, the faintest exhale, and the enemy soldier was down, silent, precise, like a shadow falling. By morning, the team would see the result. the enemy's forward position neutralized before they even knew an attack had been planned. And when they finally shook Elena awake, rubbing their tired eyes, she simply smiled faintly, almost apologetically. "Rest now," she said. "We've got them." Her team stared in disbelief. What had seemed crazy hours before, sleeping with a rifle in hand, had saved them all. Lieutenant Harper merely nodded, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "Elena Vargas," he said softly, "you're insane, but damn, you're brilliant." And as the first light of dawn painted the valley, Elena adjusted her rifle, scanning the horizon, already preparing for what would come next. The night had been long, the enemy had fallen, and one sniper's restless vigilance had made all the difference. Dawn broke over the rugged valley, spilling golden light over the ridge. Elena Vargas remained at her post, rifle in hand, scanning the terrain. Her teammates stirred, stretching, shaking off the night's tension, yet none of them fully understood what had happened. The forward observation post was supposed to be quiet until morning, but now reports came in from their field radios. The enemy hadn't been completely neutralized. The small forward patrols had survived and were regrouping. Lieutenant Harper gathered the team quickly. "They'll be moving again," he said, his voice sharp but controlled. "We need eyes on every possible approach. Elena, you're our point." Elena nodded, already adjusting her scope, breathing slow and steady. The rifle felt natural against her chest again, almost as if it were an extension of her mind. Her teammates still whispered doubts. "She didn't even sleep properly," Daniels muttered. "How can she keep doing this?" Private Lee shook his head. "I don't know, but she saw what we didn't last night." Elena didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her eyes were scanning the valley, analyzing every shadow, every movement, every shift in the wind. Hours passed. The enemy moved with caution, trying to avoid detection. But Elena anticipated every step, silently guiding the team with subtle hand signals and whispers. Then, at mid-morning, movement in the distant tree line caught her attention. She adjusted her scope and saw the enemy trying to flank the ridge, small, silent, cautious, but enough to threaten the team's position. "Contact," she whispered to Harper. He nodded. The team moved into defensive positions, covering the ridge. Yet the tension was palpable. The enemy was intelligent, adaptive. This wasn't a simple patrol, it was a test. Elena took a deep breath. Her finger hovered near the trigger, steady. Time slowed. The valley seemed to hold its breath with her. A figure emerged from the tree line, glancing back as if sensing something. Elena exhaled slowly. The rifle moved instinctively. One precise shot, silent, clean. Another, and another. Each pull of the trigger calculated, each movement anticipated. Her teammates watched in awe as she neutralized enemy combatants before they could even realize what had happened. It was methodical, efficient, lethal, but not reckless. By the time the sun reached its peak, the enemy's flanking attempt had been completely dismantled. The team remained untouched, thanks entirely to Elena's vigilance and precision. Lieutenant Harper finally approached her, his face a mix of admiration and disbelief. "I don't even know how to explain that to command," he said quietly. Elena lowered her rifle, calm, almost casual. "They underestimated patience," she said, "and we stayed ready." The team realized then, this wasn't luck, it wasn't instinct alone. It was Elena, every nerve, every second of attention, every moment spent holding that rifle through the night. And the enemy had paid the price.